Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NR2003 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season. Coming at you today, the start of the round of 12 here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Under the lights, 12 drivers remain in the playoffs, ready to fight it out for a spot in the round of 8. Our first time we're going to see some potential pack racing here in the playoffs. 161 laps coming your way today. Stages are 45, 45, which will end stage 2 at the end of lap 90, and then we'll race it, of course, from there to lap 161 to determine the winner of Las Vegas Motor Speedway here tonight. Join with me today, as usual, is JayCook. Jay, earlier this year we came to Las Vegas, and it was crazy. We saw some big crashes. We saw a lot of drama, a lot of just things happening in that race. Do you expect the same thing coming in here tonight, especially now with the playoffs underway here in full swing for the first race of the new round?
I certainly do expect the same thing to happen this time around. This time around, we're going into a new round, so we don't have anybody locked in. And Kyle Larson, our top points getter with 36 points above the cut line right now, is still not even safe himself. He needs to go out and try and get stage points and also make sure that he has a good finish for this race as well, maybe even winning, because we know how good Larson is here at Vegas. But yeah, I expect all these guys to try and go for everything, but also they need to still worry about their playoff chances and worry about their cars and be safe and careful while doing it, because they don't want to wind up wrecked out early in this first race, especially when this race is most likely going to be a pack race for a large majority of it. Anytime we have a restart, I expect for them to be virtually in a big pack for 15 or 20 laps. So these guys are going to be close together and have to be mindful of that and realize there's going to be cars around them. And then also, if any wreck gets started, they can easily be caught up in it, either not being able to slow down or by somebody behind them slamming into them, not realizing they're trying to slow down. So these guys all have to be really careful today. And it's almost going to be like a miniature Talladega for a bit of this race.
A field run is between 30 to 35 laps here at Las Vegas with our 2X tires and fuel wear turned on, ready to go green for a brand new round of playoff racing. We saw quite a bit of drama, which, and though was a relatively calm first round of the playoffs. I think this is probably going to be the craziest round yet. Jay, you could probably agree as we're getting underway here. We have Las Vegas, then we have Talladega and the Charlotte Roval. I think this is going to be nothing but chaos this round, and honestly, I don't think anybody is safe in this round of the playoffs.
I fully agree. I think the only people that'll be safe is if we get three winners, three playoff winners in this round. I think those are the only guys that are going to feel safe. Everybody else is going to be worrying about those points constantly. With this week being like a play track, next week being a play track at Talladega, and then the craziness and wackiness of the Roval. I think that we could have something big happen this round if somebody like Kyle Larson doesn't wind up getting a win and he winds up wrecked out in two of the races. Or Denny Hamlin, or any one of those guys up towards the top. We could see any number of things happen. We could also see somebody like Cole Custer sneak his way into this round. He's a guy who I think that you and I see getting eliminated.
And I mean, we already see Bubba Wallace having some issues here. He's on the apron a lap down to start this race, so trouble for him right off the bat, just recently eliminated. But this is a race, and next week in Talladega, we could easily see a scenario where every single playoff driver finds themselves getting involved in an accident this week as well as next week. You're going to see a lot of 3-wide, sometimes even 4-wide racing here tonight in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There you see up in the mix as well a few non-playoff drivers like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, who just got eliminated, Ross Chastain got eliminated, Daniel Suarez eliminated recently, and Bubba Wallace. Those were the 4 guys eliminated in that first round of the playoffs. Jay, really not surprising to see those 4 drivers go out. They were definitely among our list. I think the one surprising one that moved on, though, was the 41 of Cole Custer, and he was really able to get in that round of 12 simply because he ran so well at Darlington. Now we come into this round of the playoffs and we're looking at who's below the cut line right now. Matt DiBenedetto 8 below, who's running in the top 5. Truex is 6 below, and then we got Custer and Byron surprisingly below the cut line. Now, do you think those are the 4 guys that we expect to see maybe getting eliminated in this round?
I think 2 of those names I see getting eliminated. I think I might see DiBenedetto and Cole Custer getting eliminated. They just haven't shown the strength all season long to be in the top 8 of this field. So I think that those 2 are guaranteed eliminated unless something crazy happens. As far as the others to get eliminated, I honestly have no idea. Kurt Busch is kind of close to that. He's only 8 above, but he's also ran strong at sub points. Same thing for Keselowski. He's 5 points above, but he's ran strong this season as well. Logano 1 point above has been pretty strong this season too. And also has Byron, and the Truex has been on a roll lately. So I think Truex will get over that 6 points gap that he's on right now. But I think it's pretty hard to predict who the other two that are going to be eliminated are. I think that barring something absolutely crazy happening, I think we're going to have an extremely close points battle this round.
I wouldn't count out Martin Truex Jr. honestly making it to the round of 8. He's really picked it up since the later half of the season and was able to get pretty comfortably into this round of the playoffs. Now, his disadvantage is he had such a rough first half, he wasn't able to pick up playoff points. He wasn't able to win any races. So, just about a moment there between the 42 of Chastain and the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto there. But another thing, Jay, is we're only in the round of 12. We're only in the 4th playoff race. But you got to be thinking, if you're a guy like Chastain or Kevin Harvick, especially at a race like Las Vegas with the pack racing and even next week in Talladega, you really don't want to be that guy making an over-aggressive move, potentially taking out a playoff driver. So if you're a guy like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Ross Chastain up here in the mix, how do you race all of these drivers right now, as well as Alex Bowman in that 48 car?
I think that those 3 drivers you just listed right there probably are not worried about that. Those 3 guys right there want to win no matter what. We've seen how aggressive Chastain can be. We know that Kyle Busch wants to be aggressive and go out and win every single week and perform at the top of his game. And then Kevin Harvick is just an outstanding driver as well, and he knows thinks he can win. So I don't think any of those 3 right now are concerned about that, to be honest. But I think there's some other guys in this field, maybe like Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe there in the 14. Any of these guys up here that are not inside the playoffs but are around these other playoff guys, they're probably thinking about that. But Kyle Busch, Chastain, and Harvick, no, they're going to be aggressive and go for everything.
It's going to be interesting. The first 15, 20 laps probably of every single run tonight is going to be very, very intense, because as the tires wear, of course, everybody starts to get a little more spread out, a little more single file. But when everyone has brand new tires, it's going to be consistently racing like this. So at any point in time, just like in the spring race, we could see someone get taken out. Kevin Harvick, who was actually dominating the spring race, ended up getting taken out by Quinn Helf, who was a lap down late in that 3rd and final stage, which was very unfortunate for Kevin Harvick. So there's a lot of potential for some just huge chaos here today from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 10 laps in already here. That 23 of Bubba Wallace a lap down due to some type of mechanical fault before the race got underway. Now, as you see, just 2x2 things starting to calm down a little bit, but one consistent thing I've noticed is the 11 of Denny Hamlin out front. And Jay, honestly, I think Denny Hamlin could potentially, and Keselowski's up here as well, those 2 guys are known for their plate racing abilities, and I think that really could come into play here today at Las Vegas, is them being so good at plate tracks, they can really have a successful night here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, certainly, especially for these early part in the runs as well, where they're virtually in a pack for the first 15 or 20 or so laps. That's going to be huge for, I think, those 2 drivers, especially Brad Keselowski. I look at him as being a bit of a better plate driver than Denny Hamlin, but Hamlin certainly in recent years especially has come onto the top scene plate drivers as well. And if we see a caution towards the end of this race, that is sketchy there. We've seen that. I've seen that happen already a couple of times in this race, where that driver goes 3 wide into turn 1 and they go on the apron and they almost take out whoever's next to them. That's something we're going to have to watch out for all night long. But back to my point, if we get a restart with 10, 15 laps left in this race, I think that we could immediately look at those, the 11 and the 2 as the top 2 drivers to go up towards the front of this thing and win it, because we know it's going to be a pack race towards the end.
I definitely think that if a big incident is going to happen tonight, it wouldn't surprise me if it was someone going down on the apron, because we have, like Jay just pointed out, seen that multiple times. We just saw it right there out of the 12 of Ryan Blaney, and then, I mean, it forces 3, sometimes even 4 wide, so I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that's how the first accident on the night forms here. So as well as when we get cars crashing, of course, everybody's going to have damage, and there's going to be cars that are way off the pace, and then that's going to create lap traffic that also, at a track like Las Vegas, seems to be more prone to causing incidents. So this could be a very clean night, or it could be a crash-filled race. And surprisingly, Jay, we came into the playoffs looking at the lineup we had of tracks in the first round. We thought it was going to be complete chaos in the first round. We were surprised. It wasn't. It was actually probably the calmest 3 stretch of races we've had all season long. Were you surprised to see that? Do you think that's going to last throughout the playoffs, or do you think at some point it's got to flip the complete opposite and turn into complete chaos?
I was very surprised to see that. I thought going into the playoffs we had the potential for 6 straight races of absolute chaos between the first 3 races, Darlington, Richmond, and Bristol, and then these 3, Vegas, Talladega, and the Roval. I thought that we could have had chaos in all 6 of those races. Any number of things could have happened, and it went wild. And of course, what happens in the first 3 races? Pretty calm. Nothing really out of the extraordinary happens, except for Darlington, where there was a lot of playoff drivers having issues, and it it wound up creating some interesting stuff, but no really big wrecks, nothing really major happened at Darlington. And so I think that that will probably change this round between this race and Talladega alone. The potential for huge wrecks at both of these tracks. I don't think these drivers are going to be able to get away with the way they are racing so far in Vegas this whole entire race. Somebody's going to go down on that apron and eventually wind up not being able to hold the car and cause a big wreck. And I think that the chaos probably starts here tonight, and we may not see it stop until we get out of this round.
We, of course, will have live playoff updates from every race now throughout the rest of the playoffs. Now that we've gotten into the second round, things are a lot closer. So at the end of each stage, for the rest of the season, we should have a live playoff update coming your way. Already 17 laps into this race, and no surprise here, a consistent trend we've seen this season. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, 1-2, as we get used to seeing this at this point, and not only in NR2003, but it's also been a common thing we've seen in real life this year. So there you see them side by side now, 3 wide in the background. Things starting to calm down a little bit now as everybody's tires are starting to wear, and we kind of got a couple different packs going on. We got that main pack, and then we got this little backpack right here with all these slower cars. And Jay, I mean, probably not going to be an issue in stage 1 or 2, but in that third and final stage, if it goes long, we could see this front pack run down this backpack, and them having to work their way through a whole train of cars could really present quite a tough challenge for those front runners.
Yeah, I think for now it's a good thing that they're in that pack because it'll keep their speed up high enough to where they'll probably won't follow a lap down in these first couple of stages. But in that third stage, I think ultimately the speed of the leaders will overtake those guys, and they'll wind up catching them to lap them at some point. And when that happens, trying to get through that huge line of cars there of 7 or 8 cars that are all considerably off the pace compared to the leaders, yeah, that's going to be a big issue for these guys. By the time they get there, the leaders might already be 2 wide, and then they're going to have to start dealing with 3 wide and making awkward moves or aggressive moves to get around them, and that might wind up causing a wreck as well. So if it stays clean until then, that might be when we start to see the chaos happen as well. But I don't think we're going to make it that far without a wreck. These guys are being super aggressive, and we're just seeing them constantly go on the apron to turn 1, and somebody's going to eventually lose it.
Just about saw a moment there between Kurt Busch and Eric Almirola. They actually came together through the tri-oval, but fortunately that did not turn into anything. Hamlin, Kozlowski, Kyle Larson all up here in your top 3. Matt DiBenedetto in 4th place. Another plate driver that we look at that's always strong, having a good run at a track that's right now producing plate style racing. So not surprising to see that. 20 laps complete already. It's starting to calm down a little bit. Still quite intense out here, but what we are going to do before the first set of pit stops come our way in about 10 to 15 laps, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway in stage 1. Back from Las Vegas, 15 laps remain in stage 1. It's still Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, your top 2. Not a lot of shuffling going on up at the front for positions, but we do have green flag pit stops coming up here very, very shortly. Now, Jay, I mean, we think about green flag pit stops at a 1.5 miles, usually not much of a concern, but when we're having a pack style race, it's calmed down a lot, but everyone's still close together. It could be quite the chaotic pit entry, so you really do got to be careful here today when you're coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, and especially when you're on the track slowing down for it as well. These drivers are going to have to watch out for the hands going out the window, and maybe their spotters communicating to them as well that drivers are pitting ahead of them. These guys are going to have some really good communication to make sure that they don't get ran over or run somebody else over. Because you start slowing down about halfway through 3 and 4, somewhere in there, or towards the end of turn 4, and you're still on the track in the middle of everybody running that bottom groove. So these guys are going to have to really be careful about it. And I think the top 3 might be okay at the moment. But if you're Joey Logano on back, you certainly have something to be concerned about.
Nobody comes in this time by, but within the next 2-3 laps, everybody should be heading down into the pit lane here now. As fresh tires definitely, I think, are going to be an advantage to maybe want to go for here from Las Vegas as well, especially when you're racing only probably 10 or so laps to the end of this first and opening stage. So, Jay, do you think short pitting as well could be a potential good idea for any of these guys here?
I'm honestly not sure. I think we'd have to see somebody try it first to know that answer. I don't know how much tires are going to affect these guys here, and I don't know even if having tires is better. I don't know if you would want to short pit and then put yourself not with a group. You may just overall be slower no matter what if you're not with a pack. So I think that's something we'll have to see to know that answer to.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody come in this time by. Hamlin still leads the way. Kyle Larson up here in the mix, but DiBenedetto was past him, and you got Logano up here as well in the top 5 now, as it looks like Denny Hamlin. Yep, Hamlin's going to be the first one. Elliott's going to follow through. Pretty clean so far. A little bit of close quarters right there, but we got Hamlin, Elliott, Truex, Almirola, and Ryan Blaney all bringing it into the pits, and you got some of the midfield and backfielders coming in as well. So now we're going to see if this kind of port pitting is going to work out. Maybe the overcut could work out for some guys because you see a lot larger of a pack together here, as I wouldn't be surprised if these four right here come in at the same time, and pretty much the majority of the field. It looks like Kyle Busch is going to stay out on the track, and so is the 48, and even a few playoff drivers. So they should be coming in within the next lap or two. Now, Jay, I mean, of course, they could stay out too long, but we've also seen where cautions come out in the middle of a pit cycle. And I mean, right now, if a caution comes out, everybody that just stayed out, I mean, is in a great position. They look like gods at that point.
I think that it's all right for everybody who's not in the playoffs to stay out and try this year, because, I mean, what are you going for at this point? You're going for just race wins. You can't win a championship, so it's okay, I think, for Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman to be doing this. But Cole Custer, he's still in the playoffs. He has a championship to fight for. I don't think this is the smartest move for him. He's the last playoff guy to pit, and he's also only 1 point above the cut line at the moment. I think that is a really risky move for him, and it may not work.
10 laps to go in stage 1, and Denny Hamlin is going to be the first one in the cycle from the looks of it coming out. We're actually going to have to wait and see because we still have this next group of cars coming out of the pit lane, as we're going to get a look at them here in a second. As you see, Keselowski, Kyle Larson, it definitely looks like maybe the right call was to come in a lap or so early, because you can see how much ground Kyle Larson has lost. It shouldn't affect him too much, of course, being in a good spot in points, but still, nonetheless, he's definitely given up some potential points here in this first and opening stage. Hamlin actually has a really large lead, and Jay, I mean, there's still enough time here where this could be a disadvantage to him, because we got 3 drivers grouped up that could just run him down, and maybe even 4 or 5 cars that could just swallow him right up here towards the end of this stage.
Yeah, I think these guys here are going to get grouped up, and if they can get to single file line, they could certainly run Hamlin down and then charge right past him. So Hamlin's going to have to watch his mirrors and obviously be in communication, really good communication with his spotter if they do indeed start running him down. And just make sure he tries to block the right line, but he doesn't want to also try and block them if he's on a major disadvantage for speed, because then he winds up wrecking himself and a bunch of other playoff drivers as well. So that's something he's going to have to be careful about. But with these guys running 3 wide at the moment, they're not going to make a bunch of ground doing that either.
Exactly what Denny wants to see right now. He cannot complain whatsoever. Truex up here in the top 5 now, as well as Matt DiBenedetto now, as they're definitely still closing the gap on him even while they're battling. So it'll be interesting to see what happens coming up on the final 7 laps in stage 1. Bubba Wallace still currently the only driver 1 lap down due to some mechanical fault before the race had even begun, and pretty much no possible scenario for him to work his way back on the lead lap, really, now, or realistically at least now. As you can see, DiBenedetto getting closer and closer, and Jay, this is a very important stage for Matt DiBenedetto right now. 2nd place, but he comes into this round the last guy in, 8 points below the cut line. So another guy, him and Truex, both below the cut line, doing exactly what they need to be doing, and this just builds on to that pressure for everybody else.
Yeah, and it seems like that overcut there the only person it worked for was Matt DiBenedetto. He actually gained a position or 2 out of it, and it put himself right in the lead of this little pack here to go against Denny Hamlin. And he's going to look to make a move right away as soon as he gets there, but Hamlin's going to cover that off. So DiBenedetto's going to have to try again, this time without having a major run coming up behind him.
A nice little pack going right here. We're looking at the top 10 as well. William Byron currently rounds out the top 10. Important for him to get stage points. He is 1 point below the cut line coming into this race. So Truex and DiBenedetto, the other 2 guys as well, we have mentioned already. Below the cut line, DiBenedetto going to try and make a move up the inside into turns 1. He's actually going to go onto that apron a little bit. Now, as you can see, that destroys any little momentum he actually had right there into turns 1. So that's another thing we're kind of noticing here with 5 laps to go, Jay, is when they go down to the apron, I think that's really the momentum killer. I think they could make the inside work if they weren't clipping that apron when they were going down in there.
Yeah, it seems like if they're not already on the trajectory to go to the inside, they're going to hit that apron somehow. If they're inside of somebody, they just wind up hitting that apron, and I'm not too sure why that happens every single time, but it looks like DiBenedetto keeps getting good runs on Denny Hamlin into turn 1. He just can't make anything stick, and then when he does have the run, he's just too far behind to do anything with it. He might have a run off turn 2 here, though. He may not have any help behind him, though, to make this run happen.
Here comes Almirola, though. Gonna maybe give him the push he needs, coming to 3 laps to go in stage 1 side by side. Hamlin has dominated stage 1, but will it last? We've seen him give up a few stage victories already in the playoffs, including Richmond Raceway earlier just a few weeks ago, and it looks like DiBenedetto got through turns 1 pretty well, but we're going to see that outside kind of prevail. So even when DiBenedetto hits turn one the way you need to, that outside is still able to get that momentum down the straightaway, but he still remains right on his left-hand side as Chase Elliott getting up into the mix as well, and Ryan Blaney, who's been running really strong recently, Joey Logano back there, and Kyle Larson. As you can see right now, it looks like everybody's going to follow Denny Hamlin right here, so we're about to see how that's going to affect that front little group of cars on the inside with DiBenedetto. Now only 2 cars on the top. So do you think numbers, Jay, are going to be important here in a situation like this, or is it really just going to be that top really has the advantage no matter what?
I think it's numbers. If there's an advantage to the bottom, it'll certainly help. But yeah, that top, if there's not anybody grouped up on the bottom, that top will be an advantage for anybody who's up there, like it was for Denny Hamlin right there. They'll get the run off the corner and then be able to get back in front of that driver before they hit turn 3 or turn 1, whichever straightaway they got the run off of. That top is certainly going to be an advantage as long as the bottom doesn't have a significant number of cars compared to the top.
White flag in stage 1. Hamlin has dominated this first and opening stage, leads the way down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. Can he hold off Matt DiBenedetto for a few more seconds? It looks like he well out of turns 4 down the front straightaway. Denny Hamlin wins stage 1 of the round of 12. DiBenedetto in second place, and just at the line, Martin Truex Jr. got Eric Almirola for third place. So a big, important stage for guys like DiBenedetto, Martin Truex Jr. William Byron managed to get 9th place, passing his teammate of Alex Bowman. We also saw Kyle Larson there in 8th place. All of Hendrick Motorsports in the top 10. Of course, Bowman is not in the playoffs. So now everybody will be coming to the pit lane this time by, honestly, Jay, I don't know if I'm surprised or not that it was that clean. We saw some very good opportunities that wiped half the field out at some points there. But overall, when we've seen the trends, I think we're both probably a little bit scared looking at stage 2 of this race.
Yeah, and drivers are going to start getting to where they're going to be more aggressive as well. I think everybody was just being nice with each other there in stage 1, and they weren't trying to go for everything. And now that may change a little bit. It's still early. It's still going to be stage 2, so we may not see the chaos happen yet. But once we get to stage 3 and the drivers know they're getting towards the end of this race and they're in that final run, they may not give up any space to anybody, and that's when we might start seeing the chaos happen as well. But one thing I want to notice is you and I were talking about earlier in this race how it was Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin up towards the front. Keselowski wound up finishing that stage outside the top 10. I don't know what happened to his car. I don't know if they missed the adjustments there on the pit stop or what, but he wound up finishing outside the top 10, and he's going to be in a pretty rough position here starting stage 2.
He only comes into this round of the playoffs 5 points above the cut line, and we know for a fact he lost points right there. So that's going to be a big hit to that team. He was 13th, I think it said, at the end of stage 1. There you see pretty much an identical order here out of the pit lane. Chase Elliott, though, he's going to give up some time. He's just coming out now. He's not even going to be in the top 10. We've seen this team in real life make some pit road errors, and now there's one right there in that A-Shock Camaro. So what we're going to do is go for a quick break here at the end of stage 1 and come back for the start of stage 2, where we will have a live playoff point update to bring to you guys here as we get ready for the start of stage 2. Back from Las Vegas, ready to go green for stage 2. We have a live playoff update after stage 1. Jay, what are we looking at here in terms of the playoff situation here going into stage 2?
Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin are now tied for the top spot at 36 above the cut line. Chase Elliott 27 above. Ryan Blaney is now 20 above. Almirola is 18 above. Kurt Busch 5 above. Brad Keselowski's fallen down to only 2 above. Logano is 2 above. Truex is now 2 out. DiBenedetto is 3 out. Byron is 3 out. And Custer is 6 out.
So, I mean, looking at that, very close from Kurt Busch all the way through Cole Custer. So, and I mean, all it takes is one incident, which we could very well see here in stage 2 for, Eric Almirola, and above with Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, for everything to go south for them. So there's a lot of potential chaos brewing here from Las Vegas, potential playoff drama. I mean, one mechanical issue can completely change someone's season here tonight. We have seen that happen from time to time now as stage 2 is underway. Jay, we saw what happened in stage 1, green from start to finish. Do you think that's going to carry over into stage 2? Do you think we're going to see a common trend from earlier this season at mile and a half, where stage 1 was clean and stage 2 it just takes off in the complete opposite direction?
If that right there just told me anything, it told me that we're not going to have a clean stage 2. We're already going into turn 1 with Truex and DiBenedetto making big moves on Denny Hamlin, taking it 3 wide, and Truex is going to come out with the lead. DiBenedetto is going to go to second, but Almirola is going to go to the inside. And look at William Byron. He's going to go to the inside as well. I think these guys are going to be racy right away. We even got Christopher Bell up here as well. And Wow, Byron there had to catch a big off of turn 4. I think that we are going to see these guys get a little chaotic here, and we could potentially see some crashing start happening.
I think that was really important, though, for those guys that took Hamlin 3 wide. They know how good he is today. That was very important for them to get him shuffled back because, look, he's continuing to fall down the order. And I think if Hamlin's out in front, I don't know if you can pass him. And now they've managed to make it happen on a restart, and he's about to fade outside of the top 10. So honestly, Jay, that had to have been a strategic move. They knew what they were up against with Hamlin, and they probably made a great choice there, being extremely aggressive on that restart.
Yeah, DeBenedetto and Truex got an amazing restart there compared to Denny Hamlin and just immediately went really full aggressive on him. And I thought Truex would follow DeBenedetto, but then he decided he wanted to take a 3 wide. And I think that hurt Denny Hamlin more than anything else would have. It put Denny on the outside and has kept him on the outside now to where he's fallen all the way back there to around the bottom of the top 10. But now Truex and DeBenedetto are both stuck in that third lane on the outside. So whoa, there for a moment got really close between those two. But we're also starting to see that third lane kind of form up now. Now we haven't seen that happen all day afternoon or all race so far. So if we see that happen, maybe that third lane can be strong if there's a bunch of cars up there.
It'll be interesting to see specifically if Denny Hamlin can work his way back through the pack. This is, I mean, the worst he's run all night, of course, being shuffled back on the restart. He is not in a safe spot, as you were seeing a little bit of contact there. We saw DeBenedetto and Truex nearly come together in the tri-oval now, so there is a lot of potential chaos, again, like we said, brewing here from Las Vegas. Now, as you see up front, Christopher Bell, a non-playoff driver that we really didn't have on our radar, up in the mix. Now Suarez nearly got into that left rear of Chase Elliott. Kyle Busch, of course, there in the mix as well. We got some wild racing to start stage 2. Do keep in mind this stage comes to a close when we hit lap 91 after the completion of lap 90. So these guys got quite a bit of racing to do here now, as we got 3 wide up front for the lead. Hamlin has worked his way to the inside. Not sure how that's going to pay off for him now, as, oh my goodness, you see these guys going down onto the apron. And Jay, honestly, I think we have to question how that has not caused an incident yet.
Yeah, excuse me, it's gotten very close, and it got very close there again. And that's also almost forced 4 wide a couple times as well. And the moment we see 4 wide, I think is when we will see our first wreck. I don't think these guys will be able to handle 4 wide no matter what, and we haven't seen that yet. And goodness, they are just off the exit of these corners is getting so sketchy on this restart, and these guys are so close together, and a lot of them are coming close to making contact. I don't know how we haven't seen a wreck yet. But I think that if this keeps going the way that it is, if we keep seeing 3 wide, maybe a little bit of 4 wide, we'll wind up starting to see some chaos.
William Byron out in front in that number 24 car. He won at Circuit of the Americas earlier this season. That's the only place he has been able to pick up a win at. He's had a consistent, strong season. There was some contact right there between Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. 2 drivers comfortably above the cut line. Could have been not sitting so well if they would have had a lot more heavy contact right there. But that nearly turned into our first accident on the night. We're seeing a lot of contact happen in this race so far when these guys are all packed together, and surprisingly, not a single one of them has led to an incident here. And Jay, how many times can you get away with that? At some point, something's got to give. That contact's not going to happen in a clean way anymore, and someone's going to go around and probably take a lot of cars out with them.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that contact not result in a wreck just because these drivers are still being forgiving and not wanting to wreck yet, not wanting to go for everything, and being willing to lose that momentum to make sure that they don't wreck. But towards the end of this race, obviously they're not going to be as forgiving at all, and they're going to want to go for everything. And if contact like that does happen, we may not see them lift or lift quite enough, and a wreck will happen. So I keep mentioning it every time you go to me that we're going to see chaos almost started there with Kevin Harvick. Because I don't know how they haven't started the wrecking yet. I really don't. I keep seeing things that could happen that could cause a wreck, like Hammond going to the apron there, or these guys keep making contact off the corners, sliding off the corners. And so it's just surprising that we've seen these guys be this aggressive, and yet still none of them have caused a wreck so far. And I think that's just showing they're being aggressive, but also being smart about it and not causing wrecks.
I'd be shocked if we get through this race without some sort of large accident here in Las Vegas. 3 wide racing. I think, like Jay mentioned earlier, I think 4 wide would be the final straw that probably results in somebody getting taken out here tonight. Now, as we're seeing William Byron doing a tremendous job right now in command of this pack. Christopher Bell leading the inside line. So now about 10 laps or so complete. They will have to pit relatively soon now, and it'll be interesting to see if they've learned anything from that first and opening stage. Now it's just 2 by 2 up here in this front pack. We've seen Denny Hamlin jump up to the top, and we're seeing him slowly move his way forwards. But Jay, I mean, a problem for Hamlin is, I mean, where can he go to pass anybody right now? So I really don't see how he's going to find his way to the front.
Yeah, everybody keeps shuffling lanes as well and keeps shuffling around. The only one that's been really able to stay consistently up front since the restart of the stage is Martin Truex Jr. He's been able to keep himself up here, and that 24 of William Byron. Those two have been able to stay up towards the front, been able to time their runs right and time which line they're in right, and it's kept them up front. But yeah, there's not enough space without creating either 3 wide or 4 wide to go anywhere at the moment. And these guys are just gonna have to continue to follow in a line and hope that they can make the passes at the right time. And what we're seeing now is 2 really tight lines form up. And these guys, there is no separation between anyone from first all the way back to just outside the top 10. These guys are so close together at the moment, and they are really in a tight pack now.
A little bit different compared to early stage 1, as we're seeing a little bit of 2 by 2 now, as Elliott just about caught the wall as they kind of get a little less organized right there, going 3 wide. Hamlin actually in the middle right there. Not surprised to see that out of Hamlin. He knows he has, you know, potentially the fastest car here tonight, so we're going to probably see aggressive moves from him all night long, trying to work his way back to the front of this pack. We're just 63 laps into this race of a 161 lap race total, so just below 100 laps remain here from Las Vegas, and this has been one heck of a race already. Now it can just only get better, I'm sure, or you know what, it very well could get worse from here. William Byron, Kyle Larson up here at the front. Now, I mean, Jay, we've seen Hendrick Motorsports be very strong in terms of their engine power. You got to think this is going to be an opportunity for all of their drivers really to pick up some good points tonight.
Yeah, and you think that with that, Kyle Larson seems like he's always been the best of that group. But at the moment, William Byron has shown that he has got some speed here in the early parts of this stage too, and he just went and took the lead away and has now pulled out away from these guys behind him who are 3 wide. And I think that this could be okay for Byron right now, but no amount of engine power is going to help him once these guys get kind of grouped back up and get back in a pack. They will run him down quick, like you would see at a play track. So Byron's got to be careful here not to get too far stretched out and then block the right line when they come up to him if he wants to keep this lead.
You're seeing all of Penske Racing together right here. Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, as well as Joey Logano there. As we got Kyle Larson and Hamlin working together on the top. Now in the background there you see Ross Chastain trying to move his way forward. Daniel Suarez just outside of the top 10 there in 15th place. Both drivers were eliminated in the last round there of the playoffs. Now Byron doing a nice job holding on to that lead over Martin Truex Jr. Another guy, Jay, we got to think Truex. He's got to find victory lane at some point this season. This last half of the season so far, he's been arguably a top 5 driver, I think. So you got to think it's just a matter of time until this guy finds victory lane, and he might be heating up at the right time.
Yeah, he has. He's done a great job. From starting in the middle of the summer all the way till now, he's just done a really nice job. And he's starting out with this round being, I think he started out 6 points out. And so he's done a nice job in stage 1, getting about half of that cut. And now he is going for the lead in stage 2 as well, showing that he still has speed in this car, showing that he can still win, and he wants to go and make a run at this championship. And I think that we can see Truex, if he gets more stage points, I think he can make a really good run at the championship 4. But I just don't know with the amount of playoff points that those guys at the top have. I don't know if we see him make that championship 4 unless he winds up winning one of those 3 races in the round of 8. Which, I mean, he is very strong at Martinsville. We've seen him win there before. We've seen him run very great at that track as well before. So I think that's going to be Truex's best chance if he can make it to that round.
Now, realistically, other than Las Vegas, do you see him having a chance of advancing into the round of 8 to begin with? Because you look at Talladega, he's had a poor history at Talladega, and then at the Charlotte Roval, it could go either way. It's proven for Truex. He's almost won a race there in 2018, other than when Jimmy Johnson took him out in the final chicane, but as well, he's struggled there. So I really think that this is going to be a very testing round for him, and I don't know. I think it could go either way. He could get eliminated easily, but as well, he's got some possibilities here to run really well tonight, and at the Charlotte Roval, like I said, it could go either way. I think his main one is getting through Talladega.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it certainly could go either way for him, especially if he does not win tonight. No matter how good of a points night he puts up.
Oh, there it is!
There we go, right there.
Kyle Larson turns the 21 to Benedetto, and Almirola, Joey Logano involved. The first caution of the night is going to come out somehow we didn't collect half the field like we anticipated there. As you see, that's going to be a big playoff implications, though, for Matt DiBenedetto, who takes a lot of damage. He came in to the night below the cut line. Now is Joey Logano involved as well. Kyle Busch, a non-playoff contender. Look at the damage on the 22, and it looked like, of course, we're going to get a replay momentarily, but it looked like Kyle Larson turned the 21. Almirola as well with some heavy damage on that car, and he is right now 18 points above the cut line, so that's going to be a big hit to that team as well. We knew it was coming eventually, Jay, and honestly, I think we're both surprisingly or maybe happily shocked that they didn't clean out half the field and instead only took out about 3-4 cars.
Yeah, luckily that wreck got cleaned out up towards the wall really quick and did not slide back down into the track in the middle of the field and collect a whole bunch of cars. Keselowski got some pretty good right side damage, so that just adds another list. I was going to say the Fords took a big hit in that wreck there, with 3 of those guys having major damage and the Keselowski also having some damage as well. And specifically Team Penske with 3 of their drivers, 3 of their 4 drivers in these playoffs. Bowman just adding a little insult of injury, collecting the front end of Brad Keselowski there. But Team Penske just had 3 of their drivers involved in this crash. 2 of them heavily damaged. Brad Keselowski should be okay, but you see the 22 there just absolutely destroyed. If that car continues, he's going to be way out the pace, and I don't think there's any way that. And there he goes,
He's out.
done. And the 21 might be done as well, but if he continues, he's just going to be one of those slow back markers, and this is where we might see that chaos start with that, as well as if we're going to have slow cars riding around on the track.
I think if you're a guy like DiBenedetto, Almirola, you almost have to be that guy today, because obviously you need to be going for every single point you can get. So not surprising to see them continue on. Keselowski got some repairs on the right side of that car, but he did pick up some damage there. You see the 21, no back bumper on him or Eric Almirola, and Joey Logano is completely out of this race. And Jay, before we look at the replay, we saw Logano DNF, I think it was, or had a really rough Darlington, and he found himself in a tight spot. And now here he is coming into this stage, 2 points above the cut line. And just like in the first round of the playoffs, he's taken a big hit, and he's going to probably find himself below the cut line at the end of tonight. So that team cannot keep doing this, because, I mean, they've been given a second chance, and they just used it up once again.
Yeah, I think Logano right there. I think that we have Talladega next week, so that's all the. There's still all of that up in the air about Talladega next week, but I think that if he does not get a win at Talladega next week, or if he does not at least finish somewhere in the top 5 in both stages and the end of the race, I think that this race winds up ending Logano's playoff chances. I don't see how he can point his way in after this race, and then also still having Talladega left as well. I think that's going to be a huge hit to that team. And even though Almirola is 18 points above the cut line, that's going to be a huge hit to him, even if he finishes this race, unless a bunch of other playoff guys DNF and he's able to finish ahead of them still. He's going to be in a tighter spot as well, but still 18 points above. He is not going to be completely out of it points-wise like Logano is. And then the same thing, kind of in the same situation as Logano, DiBenedetto is, came into this race already below the cut line, the last driver of these 12 cars in the field. He got a great stage 1, was only 3 points out, but now he's not going to be able to score any points in this stage. And then he's also not going to be able to have a good finish either, unless, again, we have a bunch of calamity and a bunch of cars wreck, and he winds up somehow getting a top 20 because all the rest of the field is DNF'd. So he's also going to be in a terrible situation as well. But again, Talladega next week, it's the big question mark. It's where anything can happen. And so they're not down. They're not out yet, but they are certainly in a bad situation if something good doesn't happen for them next week.
Definitely an opportunity for them to get back into it. But before we go green, let's check out what happened there to bring out the first caution of the day. Here's a look at what happened with Matt DiBenedetto, Eric Almirola, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano as well. Right here you see Kyle Larson. He's actually going to tag the 10 on the exit of turns 4 and hook him into the 21, turn him head on into the wall. And Jay, not much the guys on the outside here like Logano and Kyle Busch could do to avoid that incident.
Yeah, they were just probably hoping that the crash would slide to the inside, and it did not. It came up right in front of them, and Logano got huge damage. Kyle Busch had some pretty good contact to his front end as well. But now you see why Logano DNF. That car got absolutely demolished from the left and the front, and I'm kind of surprised that DiBenedetto almost going over there. I'm surprised that he's able to keep going.
Here's an onboard look from the 22 of Joey Logano right behind this incident that starts, and then just nothing he can do as the 21 nearly goes up and over there, and Joey Logano finds himself out in the first race of the round of 12. Someone that really got lucky out of this situation, Jay, I think, is this guy right here. Keselowski could have easily, and Kyle Larson both found themselves engulfed in that accident. And even Hamlin.
Keselowski made a fantastic save right there and almost slid back up into the side of Denny Hamlin and almost got nailed from behind as well. So Keselowski did a really nice job there. And I think that he honestly found the perfect hole to just I, I say found. He luckily got in the right hole to come back on track where there was a space in between cars because he could not get that car slowed down and get it to the left. And he was going to come back up there no matter what. And luckily, it just so happened to be a space between Hamlin and Bowman.
So now getting ready to go green with less than 20 laps to go in stage 2. They have all pitted, which means, Jay, they can make it to the end of the stage, and they have fresh tires, which means we're going to see what we just saw with the racing product for the rest of this stage, which honestly could bring a lot more chaos, and I don't think that the playoff drama is anywhere close to being finished at this point.
You'd think that these guys would see that crash and go, okay, hey, we might need to calm down a bit. We just had some playoff guys get wiped out. Let's not do the same to us. But no, I think it's going to wrap up the intensity. These guys know that they just saw that happen. They know they need to get stage points here. They're coming down towards the end of the stage. So now we're probably going to still see them be extremely aggressive, if not more aggressive than they already were being, to make sure that they get those stage points. And that could lead to some more crashing as well. There are lots of things that could still happen here in this race. And I think that's why it's important for the 10 and the 21 to keep themselves going.
And speaking of them, you see them both on track still. Surprisingly, they don't seem unbelievably far off the pace, which is a very good thing to see. But they are probably still going to lack some pace here and there. But they actually both look semi-competitive. I just saw somebody go into the pit lane there on the exit of turns 4 to 5 of Kyle Larson. Oh my goodness, Kyle Larson onto the pit lane. Maybe they have a loose wheel or something like that, and that's going to be a huge hit. Now, fortunately for them, they are the top seed coming into this round, but nonetheless, that's still going to be a big hit to that team who will not get stage points, and they might not even get back out on the track at all. We don't know what's going on with the 5 of Kyle Larson. Oh, look, he's putting right side tires, Jay, potentially a loose wheel on that team, and that's going to be a huge hit. They're going to go a lap down and be trapped there for the rest of the race.
Yeah, he might even go a second lap down if they're... Nope, there's just the right side tire. So if we get back on track and be only one lap down, but as we know in NR, that's virtually he's going to be stuck there all night long. He's not going to get that lap back. So Larson's going to have to hope for cars at DNF as well, but luckily for him, like you've mentioned, he was a top seed coming into this. He was 36 points above the cut line after stage 1. He'll still be okay, but nonetheless, you don't want to have a race like this at all if you're that 5 car.
A big hit for Kyle Larson now. I mean, like we mentioned already multiple times, he is the top seed, but that's still only 35 points, and he gave away stage points right there, as well as right now we only have currently 34th place. 34 cars on the lead lap of this race still. So that's a huge hit for Kyle Larson. And he's gonna, the only opportunity he has to get a decent result out of this is we have chaos break loose with a bunch of drivers crashing here in that final stage. So if you're Kyle Larson right now, Jay, you're hoping that this turns into the craziest race of the season at this point.
Yeah, and I think that we had the potential for that as well. We saw this race last time we were at Vegas be super crazy, and now this time we have the added drama of the playoffs and all these drivers wanting to go for it. And then we also have these drivers who aren't in the playoffs wanting to go for a win as well, and they know that they have to go for it no matter what, and they can't really care about playoff drivers being around them. So I think we're going to still see a lot more chaos to come, and at the moment, I'm actually kind of surprised that we're not seeing a pack like we were earlier.
There you see Austin Dillon up here in the mix, some non-playoff drivers like him, as well as the 14 of Chase Briscoe, as Truex tries to make a move to the inside of William Byron. Can't quite do anything right there. So we're going to really quick just kind of get an idea of the pace these guys are setting who are not in the main pack. So William Byron right now down the back straightaway, 185 miles per hour. Corey LaJoie all by himself right now is running a decent pace. The only reason he's a little bit off is because he has no draft, but we really want to see the 18 of Kyle Busch. He seems to be a little bit off, but to our surprise, Jay, the 10 of Almirola and the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto, they're hanging on relatively well here, which I don't think any of us really expected, seeing the damage they had picked up.
Yeah, they're also not terribly far outside of the top 10. They probably run the top 15, which is actually very surprising. I fully expected certainly the 21 with all that damage that he got and with the type of wreck he had. I thought he would be nowhere near the pace of these guys, but he seems to be near it, and it might just be a case of him not being in a good spot pack-wise at the moment. If he got some draft and he had some cars around him, maybe he could still be competitive. Maybe the same thing for the 10 as well. They both have really good pace in those cars, and I was not expecting that at all.
There will be some lap traffic actually before the stage comes to a close. You see, as Byron and Truex are side by side for the lead, that they are going to have to deal with at least that 7 of Corey LaJoie here before they do complete stage 2 in Las Vegas. It'll be interesting to see what the playoff grid looks like at the end of the second stage now. Still side by side, Elliott going way low down into turns 1. Thank goodness that doesn't turn into anything there as you can see them closing up on that number 7 of LaJoie. Truex just about, he does get clear of William Byron. Byron tries to cross him over to the inside. That's the first time all night I think we've seen a bottom pass get completed there, as now the number 5 or 24 sorry has help from the number 3 of Austin Dillon. But Jay, that was pretty impressive in showing the mighty speed that 19 might have here for the rest of this night.
Yeah, and he's shown it earlier in this race as well. He knows how to be up front here and lead this race, and he has a very good car, I think, as well. So Martin Truex Jr. showing early, when we were talking about earlier, that he needs to win this race, or this will be the best opportunity to win and make sure he gets into the next round. I think that he is showing he could do that right now at this moment. Man, these guys are starting to get aggressive, and now they know that the end of the stage is coming, but they've also got a lap car they're coming up on as well. So Corey LaJoie could throw a wrench into the things here.
This is about to get very, very interesting here as Truex closes up on the back of the 7. So now it's coming down to complete timing. Who's going to time it the best to make a move here when they approach this number 7 of Corey LaJoie. Now, LaJoie is not going to be off the pace once he gets into this pack, so he's going to have the pace to hang with these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how he is going to affect overall, not the race for the stage win, but just for the top 10 in general. And honestly, he could realistically, Jay, maybe even find a way to hold himself right up at the front here.
Yeah, and I think he has the pace in the car. He just maybe got caught in an awkward moment with having to pit there or stay on pit road for a long time. We noticed that he was on pit road for quite a while, and he might just got caught off that way and still has really good pace in the car. And it certainly seems like he does at the moment, getting the run there off the corner, getting himself back in front of Martin Truex Jr. But I think this is something that Truex is not going to want to see either. I think he's going to try and be aggressive to put Corey LaJoie a lap down here, get him out of the way. And these other playoff drivers probably feel the same way. They don't want to have him interfering in their playoff battle.
Martin Truex Jr. has been very vocal in the past about not being a fan of lap traffic, and it looks like he has the run here, but LaJoie actually has that momentum again on the exit of the corner. Just 5 laps remain in this second stage here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Currently, Kevin Harvick, your final driver in the top 10. As we see, not as many playoff drivers as I expected right up here in the mix. I mean, of course, we still have a lot of them. Harvick actually 3 wide in the outside wall briefly there as you got Keselowski trying to rebound. As we see these guys going at it up front. William Byron onto the apron. He's going to slide up and open the door for Chase Elliott. But look at Corey LaJoie continuing to kind of be a menace to this top 10 battle, and as well, you got to be getting frustrated at this point, Jay, with LaJoie potentially impacting who's getting what stage points, and especially Ryan Blaney now kind of stuck behind him.
Yeah, I'm sure Ryan Blaney is furious right now at this 7 car, and there's probably others as well that don't want this 7 anywhere near them and are not happy that he's around them at the moment. But now he's starting to kind of lose it a little bit. Now he's on the outside. He's going to slip down the order, and they might get past him. Wow, how did we not have a wreck? I still don't know how we have not seen that apron cause any issues so far. We've seen it happen time and time again where they get on that apron and they somehow slide up but don't hit anything. And as well, we have this pack coming up on Bubba Wallace again. So in the next couple of laps here, they're going to have to deal with another lap car.
Coming to 2 to go, though, in the stage. That might be their saving grace. Keselowski continuing to move his way forward. He has a chance to get a top 10, actually, here in stage 2. Hamlin has moved his way a little bit back up towards the front, but still hasn't quite had enough there to get to the lead. LaJoie now starting to fade a little bit. He is still right up here in the mix, though, now as they're coming to the final lap in stage 2. There's Bubba Wallace. It is going to be close there. I don't think they're going to quite get to him as it's 3 wide. Hamlin has been aggressive all stage long. We've seen him just about make contact like that right there with Chase Elliott there in the 9 car. White flag in the air for stage 2. William Byron back out in front as they go down into turns 1, but you see Bubba, it's not going to be close enough for anyone to get to him, thank goodness, so he will not impact the end of this second stage. Going down the back straightaway, Jay, now, I mean, I think Byron has the best chance here because he's got Elliott, his teammate, but he's actually potentially going to take a 3 wide into turn 3.
And they are going to go down in here and be really aggressive with each other. That was an aggressive move there. And William Byron is actually going to somehow keep the momentum on the outside, even with the car to his outside. And he's going to win stage 2. That's a great move there for William Byron, who just had a pretty awful, not awful, but had a struggling stage 1 and got himself some good points in stage 2. He's going to be back inside the top 8 now, and he's also going to be in the lead as long as things don't go wrong on pit road.
Stage 2 complete. William Byron, what a run from him. Now, as Kyle Larson, of course, is someone we're really looking at who took a big hit, of course, as they will be coming into the pit lane right here. So 10 crucial points for William Byron, 0 for Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott did a good job right there, and so did Chase Elliott. And Truex, once again, been very, very consistent all night long. So we saw as well, Jay. Chase Elliott was really far off the last 2 weeks. So this is another important week for them to step it up to make sure they still got what they need to continue to advance in these playoffs.
Yeah, and Chase Elliott, I think he knows at the moment that he's kind of been struggling this entire season, and he's not the top dog right now at Hendrick Motorsports, and I think he wants to change that, and he's done a great job so far tonight in Vegas, and I think this is another round for him that could also be very strong. We have Vegas, he's very good at mile and a halves, and then we have Talladega. We've seen him be good at plate tracks before. He has the knowledge to be good at plate tracks, and then we've also got the Roval, which is a type of track Chase Elliott has just simply dominated the last several years, or the last couple of years, in the NASCAR Cup Series. So I think Chase Elliott is probably looking at this round, and he's very excited about it, and I'm sure he's going to do
Oh,
great in this round. There's a heavy contact with the 24. I looked away for a
no
moment,
damage,
and
no
I come back up, and the
damage.
24 is spun around. He's going to lose the lead. You know what I mentioned, not having anything go wrong on pit road? I think I jinxed him again.
Austin Dillon wins race out of the pit lane. Very fortunate for Byron. He did not get any damage out of that right there. So that's one lucky break for him. We saw, there you see Hamlin, as well as, where's Chase Elliott? Oh, he's just behind the 20 of Christopher Bell. So we are going to go for a quick break here at the end of stage 2 and come back for stage 3, where we will once again have one more live playoff update coming your way to see what the situation looks like now with Kyle Larson having issues, as well as Eric Almirola, Matt DiBenedetto, and even the 22 of Joey Logano, who is out of this race. We'll be right back for the start of stage 3. Back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Austin Dillon out front as we get ready for stage 3, and we have a playoff update coming your way. Jay, what are we looking at here in this third and final stage?
As you would expect, due to that crash, we have had some playoff implications. Denny Hamlin is now 40 above. Larson is 34 above. Chase Elliott is 34 above. Ryan Blaney is 22 above. Eric Almirola is 16 above. William Byron is now 7 above. He goes from being above the cut line to above it. Martin Truex Jr. is 5 above. Kurt Busch is 3 above, and now Keselowski is 3 above, below the cut line. Logano is 3 below. DiBenedetto is 6 below, and Cole Custer is 6 below.
I am glad to know William Byron went from above the cut line to above the cut line.
Shut up. Shut up, okay?
He meant below. Now, two things as we're getting ready to go green. Two things that are going to, for sure, change is Joey Logano, who comes in only 3 below. He's going to be a lot further below at the end of this race. And Kyle Larson comes in 34 above in this final stage. He is going to be nowhere near 34 points above the cut line at the end of this race. Larson, the first car lap down, that doesn't matter with NR2003, with the lucky dog and whatnot. So, Jay, right now, Kyle Larson needs to hope for something because, I mean, where he finishes right now, he's going to probably find himself right around the bubble, being maybe either just above or just below that cut line.
Yeah, he also does need to have something happen here. I was just, sorry, I got caught off guard watching this move almost happen again the same time around, but Truex did the same thing, got an incredible run and went right at William Byron, is now going to try and look and go at Austin Dillon. But yeah, Larson is going to need some chaos to happen here. He's also going to need maybe some luck to try and get back on the lead lap, but I don't think there's any way that happens unless he just winds up somehow coming through this field and unlaps himself, which I don't see that really happening either. He's way too far back at the moment. Might be disconnected from this lead pack just because he's stuck behind slower cars. So Kyle Larson is going to have to hope for some wrecks to happen and get himself up in the order just due to that, just due to people DNFing. But we already are seeing these guys get in a tight pack and get gripped up again in this stage, and they're going to really be going for it now.
One thing I'm looking at is in the first race of the playoffs, Cole Custer stepped it up. First race of the round of 12, he is stepping it up. As this race goes on, he just about maybe took it a step too far right there, as I thought he was about to hook that 12 of Ryan Blaney 3 wide, 3x3, multiple rows here into turns 1. But I don't know what it is, Jay, but Cole Custer has found something we haven't seen all season. And, I mean, he did enough in race 2 and 3 to advance after an incredible Darlington, but here he is again, putting up a really good performance here at the end of stage 2 and now into stage 3.
I think I know what it might be. I think it might be the ratings. But yeah, Cole Custer has certainly done a nice job and done what exactly he was supposed to do in these playoffs. And kind of picked it up for his team. Obviously, Eric Almirola is a decent way above the cut line as well. But he's struggling at the moment, and Cole Custer did a fine job in Darlington in the first race of that round. And like you mentioned, the first race of this round, he's doing exactly what he needs to, and he's taking advantage of other drivers struggling. Is he going to be in as good of a position leaving this race as he was leaving Darlington? No, I don't think so. But there's also a lot left to happen still in this race. Who knows? Maybe he survives the crashes and these other playoff guys don't, and he winds up emerging 20 points above the cut line or something. So Cole Custer doing everything he needs to at the moment and certainly getting hot at the right time.
Chase Elliott just led his first lap of the night here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That team heating up at the right point of the race as there's now coming to the final 62 laps here from Las Vegas. Now, Jay, I don't know. It's if they can make it through the first probably 15 laps of this run, they can probably keep it green for quite some time. But if they do manage to go green to the end of this race, it's going to be close on field because they can go about 35 laps, and that would bring us throughout this whole run about 35-ish laps to the end of this race. So do you think field strategy has the potential to really play a big role here tonight too?
If I'm one of these crew chiefs right now, I'm not really even worrying about field strategy that much because I think you're banking on a caution happening. With the way these guys have been racing, I think we can expect another caution to happen, and then that'll just kind of wipe the fuel strategy right out the window. Even if one happened right now, you could certainly make it on one more stop after they pit under the yellow. So I think if I'm one of the crew chiefs, I'm not even paying attention to that now. And then if we start getting to the end of this run, you maybe start paying attention to it and calculating when you want your driver to get to pit road and if he needs to save in this run or if he needs to save in the next run. But at the moment, you're just probably not even worrying about it that much because I think that we'll see a caution happen, and I think we might see fuel strategy just not even exist.
There you see Kyle Larson working his way through the field, pretty much meaningless unless he somehow is able to get to the front of this pack and lead that pack. Would be his only opportunity to do anything. You're also seeing Matt DiBenedetto hanging into the draft with no problems. Almirola is in that kind of second pack right now, just kind of maintaining, but obviously they're going to take quite a hit as well here in this third and final stage after this race comes to a close. Austin Dillon having a very strong run, so is Christopher Bell. We really haven't seen Christopher Bell be relevant at all this season, but here he is mixing it up tonight from Las Vegas Motor Speedway now. And Jay, he's doing a good job, and it's shocking that we've only seen one Joe Gibbs Racing driver go to victory lane, and that's still Denny Hamlin. But we've seen, of course, Truex step it up. Kyle Busch stepped it up at some points. But do you think this is going to continue, or do you think we're going to see maybe a Truex or a Bell or even Kyle Busch get to victory lane for Joe Gibbs Racing before the season comes to a close?
I think Truex is a leading candidate for that group to get a win. I don't know if we'll see Christopher Bell get a win. He's had some flashes of performance a few times this season, but never enough to really show he's been in contention for a win. And we've seen Kyle Busch have some really good races so far this year, but he's still just overall struggled as a whole. And I think that will continue as well. He hasn't had the greatest start to the playoffs either. So I think that Truex is really in the best position of that team right now to get a win. And I think he will get a win, or maybe two, or maybe three. Considering the races that we have left, I can see Truex winning at just about all the tracks we have left, except for maybe next week at Talladega, and then the Roval is kind of a toss-up. But Martin Truex Jr., he's been really good going into the playoffs, and he's been really good in the playoffs so far. And especially tonight, he's not leading at the moment, but he's led a lot tonight, and I think him and Hamlin have two of the strongest cars left.
Now for the first time tonight here from Las Vegas, just over 50 laps remain. We are going to now, for the first time tonight though, get amped from Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the first race of this round of 12. There you have the AMP segment from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Chase Elliott still out in front. Cole Custer up there in fourth place. Denny Hamlin scrapping it out with his JGR teammate of Martin Truex Jr. Things have calmed down actually quite a bit here in this third and final stage, at least in the early part. So what we are going to actually do is go for a quick break, and we'll bring you guys back for the start of what could be the first and only pit segment. Actually, you know what? I see the 18 of Kyle Busch is quite a ways off the pace, so we're going to stick around for a few more minutes time because they are going to be engulfing Kyle Busch here within the next couple of minutes, and who knows how they are going to deal with that. Then we'll take our scheduled break here. And now as Jay, we're seeing Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney up front right now. Ryan Blaney has been kind of quiet but really good. He's picked up a couple wins late in the regular season and has been really strong as well in Richmond. He won a stage, got a playoff point there, and I think we got to really look at him as a legitimate threat here to potentially even go all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah, he's just consistent. He's also performing the best of the Penske group tonight, and all three of his teammates or associated teammates are currently out of the bubble or out of the playoffs at the moment, and because of the incidents tonight and because of their shall I say lack of performance going into this. Logano was only a couple points above. Benedetto was out, and I think Keselowski was also around the bubble as well, and Keselowski also having struggles tonight. But he's found himself back inside the top 10, getting that damage repaired. But I mean, Ryan Blaney is just consistently consistent. He's fast while doing so, and he's always finds himself getting good finishes. And he's also just another guy that has to hope that he doesn't get involved in a crash because he's already in a decent point situation. And he could just kind of ride on that as long as he doesn't get involved in a crash like I thought might have been happening there for a moment. I think I just saw him block Truex down at the apron, and that right there would have been big if I had just mentioned him not needing to cause a wreck, and then he went and caused one.
There you see Cole Custer looking to the inside of Austin Dillon as they close in to that 18 of Kyle Busch. So now, once again, it's going to be about timing. This time, it's not, I don't think, going to be like a Corey LaJoie situation because we've seen this 18 genuinely just far off of the pace, and they're going to catch him here in turns 1, 3 wide in the back there with Christopher Bell trying to make a move up the inside of Cole Custer. Hamlin might be able to pounce on that there and take advantage, as it looks like he's going to try and do just that. Now Chase Elliott's got a nice gap right now to second, third, fourth place where he can time this move accordingly. With the 18 of Kyle Busch, nearly went wrong, but he's still going to get to the inside and will comfortably be able to get through on the inside there. So Elliott was able to tackle that car of Kyle Busch relatively well. Now we should see the speed in the 18 hopefully improve, but it's not going to be a drastic improvement. He's still going to find himself in the way, but actually look at him go on the outside. He's still able to make that work. So I'm surprised by the speed in the 18 of Kyle Busch, but now what we're going to do is we can see he's not going to cause too much of an issue. We're going to take a quick break and come back here in about probably 5, 6, 7 laps time here for the set of pit stops coming our way. We'll be right back from Las Vegas. Welcome back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Everybody was able to work their way through Kyle Busch cleanly as Chase Elliott still out in front over the number 20 of Christopher Bell. Martin Truex Jr. up here in the mix. Cole Custer, Denny Hamlin are all your top playoff contenders right now, but a good mix of non-playoff contenders as well, as pit stops should be kicking off here within the next 5 laps here from Las Vegas. Now, Jay Elliott, I think, is doing the best of anyone we've seen all night. Control this field. He's actually been able to create a gap, and no one's really been able to get right to his back bumper or alongside him, which we haven't really seen this happen so far tonight.
And I'm not really sure if that's him having the best car, which I think it very well could be, or if it's maybe these guys playing a little bit of fuel strategy and deciding to back off a bit and save, because we're also not even really seeing these guys running a pack. They're almost virtually in a straight line. We have a few guys running next to each other. But for the majority of it, it's a single file line. I don't know if that has to do with just maybe them trying to play fuel strategy now that we've gone long enough, or if just simply these guys are maybe not being so aggressive right now or anything like that.
Oh.
Well, as I say that, there's some contact between the playoff driver and a non-playoff driver. I'm sure Ryan Blaney's not happy about that. We've already seen them have issues with one non-playoff guy, Corey LaJoie, tonight. So Ryan Blaney is certainly having issues with guys who are not in the playoffs.
Getting a little bit aggressive, some of these guys are. Kyle Larson has actually continuously been working his way forwards. Still, of course, 1 lap down. His only option, like we said, is to be out in front of the main pack. And now it looks like, oh, Chase Elliott, he's going to be the first one onto the pit lane. And it looks like he is going to be the only one. Kyle Busch is going to be joining him. So is Kyle Larson. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Kyle Larson. I would have thought he would have probably, Jay, risked staying out because that could have potentially landed him on the lead lap.
Yeah, and if he goes another lap or two as well, I think that more guarantees him making the race than it does right now. I think these guys are right on that cusp of being able to make it to the end this lap. So I think that they might be able to make it to the end, those who just pitted, but you're very, very close, and you are banking on getting every ounce of fuel in that car possible, and then also maybe being able to save a little bit as well. I think these guys
Oh,
pitting here, and maybe the ones like Byron who are extending another lap, I think this is a smarter move than already having pitted.
I don't know about that 19 car, but that looked a little interesting with that pit entrance. So maybe keep an eye out on that 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Might just be overlooking it, but it looked like he was staying out and then dived in last moment. So I don't know, maybe if he wasn't able to get that car slowed down in time. But like I said, that's something we need to keep an eye on here now, as we got the next group of cars coming into the pit lane, led by the 14 of Chase Briscoe, William Byron coming in. Now, Jay, these guys for sure have a lot more insurance than everybody else. And I mean, they got 2 extra laps than, say, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and whatnot. So, I mean, they really don't have to be as concerned, but still, it is still very close for them. But like I said, they're definitely going to be a lot more comfortable here.
Yeah, I think this group here that pitted, I think they'll certainly be able to make it to the end as long as they get the car full, and then maybe have to save just a tiny little bit to make it. They might actually be okay with the overcut as well here, because they might be able to run it a little bit harder than like Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson. Well, Larson's a lap down, but Chase Elliott or any number of these guys who pitted a lap or two before them. So I think that these guys here are going to be in a good position, and even if they might lose some track position here coming with the overcut, they might be okay because they might be able to run a little bit harder than anybody else in the field.
Kevin Harvick picked up some damage there on the pit lane on the front bumper. It doesn't look like Truex has got any issues there. I thought he might have potentially been in position to get a penalty, but we thought wrong. He is okay now, as we are coming up towards the final 30 laps of this race here from Las Vegas. It's been a wild race, a lot of crazy pack racing. Only one incident so far, and now it looks like it's going to be pretty spread out. So I'd be honestly a bit surprised if we had an incident at this point now, as we're going to see Chase Elliott likely cycle out to the lead here in the closing laps of this race. Now, as we try to find him somewhere in the running order there, he is actually a pretty comfortable gap right now as well, Jay, over a second ahead of Martin Truex Jr., but Truex is going to have a drafting partner of the 20 of Christopher Bell, so that could be an advantage to him, and we also know he has more fuel than the 9 of Chase Elliott. So if you put these two against each other, who do you think is going to have the best opportunity at this point, Jay?
If Chase Elliott's able to make it, I think Elliott is certainly in the more advantageous position at the moment, but he's also, he's got the disadvantage of pitting 1 lap earlier than Truex Jr., so they may not be confident that they can make it, while Truex might be confident that he can, maybe with just a tiny bit of saving. And Truex also does have that drafting partner, like you mentioned, and there's also cars behind him that could group together, catch Truex, and then Truex could run down Chase Elliott with 3 or 4 cars together. So there's still lots of things that can happen here, lots of time for them to get back into a pack, and I think we will see them get back into a pack just because of how much of an advantage it is here. And so with a group that are already together, 3 or 4 cars, we can see them catch these leaders here. And that is also going to be another thing that some of these drivers are going to want to see, because they can save fuel better that way as well.
So what we're going to do here now with 30 laps remaining from Las Vegas, Truex is closing in, but we're going to take one final break here and bring it to the end of this race as Chase Elliott tries to hold off a charging Martin Truex Jr. and Christopher Bell here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Back from Las Vegas, Chase Elliott still out in front over the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Christopher Bell right on the back of them as well, as they are approaching some lap traffic as they go down into turn 3, coming to the final 20 laps of this race. It's absolutely crunch time at this point, Jay, for all of these guys.
Yeah, and we're seeing Truex here already starting to be aggressive. He really wants to get on Chase Elliott's bumper here. Oh, there's yellow flag.
I think that there's a caution on the track with 20 laps to go. There's the pace car right there on the exit of turns 2. Oh, the 9 and the 19 just about got together, and the caution is out in Las Vegas. I don't really see anything going on here. We'll have to look for a replay once they get settled out here. But all of a sudden, absolutely everything changes at this point, Jay. I mean, obviously, we know how fast that 9 car is, so the only option these guys have is to find a way around him. But now, the question is, what do you do on the pit lane? Do you pit? And if you do you take 4 tires or 2 tires?
Well, I was just going to say there, I thought that Truex would be faster than Chase Elliott. He looked faster. He caught him with his teammate there, Christopher Bell, and it just seemed like he had the pace there on Chase Elliott. But now I think it's going to change here. They're actually going to stay out, so that's extremely surprising when everybody is close to making it on fuel. I guess they consider that fresh tires are not a huge advantage at the moment, which it seems like to us that they are, because we saw that the undercut really worked for the drivers who did it. So I thought that everybody will pit here. I think that staying out might be a bit of a mistake, but I'm not a crew chief, obviously, so these guys think that they can make it to the end from here and aren't going to worry about tires as well.
We're gonna go take a quick break simply so we can see if we can find out what brought out this caution, and we'll be right back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, ready to go green for what could be the final restart on the night. Back from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, it will be 15 laps to go when we go green flag racing. We could not find actually what brought out the caution, so we're just gonna go and label it as a debris caution. I think it's the second time this season that's happened. We had one earlier. I can't remember what track it was, but in the first 10 races, I know that, where we had a caution come out and could never find what actually caused it. So we're going to consider it a debris caution, as we couldn't find any other cars with damage and whatnot. So getting ready, Jay, for what could be the final restart. And we see, I mean, Kyle Larson is hoping for chaos because he is right here, what, 6th or 7th in line. And if he can find a way to the front of this pack and then a crash happens, it wouldn't necessarily be over for Kyle Larson. He could rebound to a nice finish tonight.
That would certainly be ideal for him as well. I'm sure that that's something he's going to want happen, and it would be great for him because that would get him back on the lead lap and give him a chance. There's not many laps to go, so if that caution, if he doesn't get in that position very quickly and that caution doesn't come quickly, it may not matter no matter what. But if he's able to do it with 10 or so laps left, we saw how fast he flew through the field before, so he could potentially do that again. And also this gives everybody else a chance as well to get regrouped here in a big pack and really make this thing intense. We're not going to have many laps to go here when we restart, so I think that this is where we're going to see the intensity be the highest it's been all night long. And we have to really be careful here because we could wind up seeing a bunch of playoff guys wrecked if they get too aggressive.
Back underway, and immediately you're seeing some aggressive driving from Christopher Bell, the 3 of Austin Dillon. No one's able to do anything right there, and that was an important restart for someone to maybe try and attack the number 9 of Chase Elliott. Now the tires are a little bit more worn on this restart compared to any other restart tonight. We'll see if that plays a role into how these guys are racing throughout the rest of this final run. Now in the back, 3 wide, Matt DiBenedetto there in the mix. DiBenedetto pitted, by the way. He has tires there on that number 21 car, as we're going to see 2 by 2 down this front straightaway. Chase Elliott under attack now from the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin's back up into the mix now. What a rebound it would be for him if he can find himself in the front here before this race comes to a close. Jay, we've seen these 2 specific drivers going at it pretty much all of stage 3, and right now what's it going to take for a guy like Truex to get past that 9 car?
I think it's going to take him being on the outside there. As you just saw, Chase Elliott got a huge run on the outside. Truex having no help on the inside, and that's going to put. Oh, this is going to wind up being an incident.
There they go. Yep, oh, they saved it. They saved it for now. It's 4 wide out of turns 4. No caution. That's a playoff driver of Eric Almirola. They were 4 wide and somehow did not crash on the exit of turns 4, and Elliott, Truex still going at it up front here. A lot of damage there. Bubba Wallace had a moment as well, but look at the damage to the 18 of Kyle Busch. He's had a miserable night, looking like it did earlier in the year for him tonight here from Las Vegas. How in the world, Jay, did they manage to keep that one going in the right direction?
Honestly, the wall. They just slapped the wall and kept it straight somehow. And for Almirola, even though he
Clear.
lost spots, it's good for him that he did not wind up DNFing. He still needs to be on track, and Martin Truex Jr. has now gotten the lead. I did not think he'd be able to do that from the inside, but he did. And now Chase Elliott's going to be in that 3rd lane, and the 3rd lane is where you absolutely do not want to be. So Chase Elliott might wind up losing a bunch of spots here.
He just lost 1 there. Austin Dillon up in 2nd place now. Perfect case scenario for Martin Truex Jr. as Elliott might lose a spot to the 20 of Christopher Bell as well. Kyle Larson 3 wide there in the background as Truex in command in the closing laps of this race. What a day it would be. What a step up it would be if they could find a way to win here from Las Vegas. Matt DiBenedetto with those fresh tires really still can't do a whole lot now with that damage on the car, as you can still see some more 3 wide action down this back straight with Cole Custer. Has fallen down the order a little bit here in this 3rd and final stage, but still has some time maybe to work his way back forwards. Elliott back to the inside here is Alex Bowman all over the back of the 20 of Christopher Bell. Hamlin there behind that number 9 of Chase Elliott. Now is at this point, Jay, it's going to be very tough for anyone to pass Martin Truex Jr. I think whoever is leading at this point is a huge advantage, and it's going to be tough to pass whoever it is at this point here with now 11 laps to go.
You're going to have to try and get that driver to the outside and then get a whole bunch of cars to the inside line, and that's how you're going to be able to get past the leader. Unless you have just a very good car and you can go on the outside and go around the outside and do it. But I just don't think that unless you get a bunch of cars grouped up together, you're not going to be able to pass that leader, much like Martin Truex Jr. did. Now he put himself in an advantageous position. He's got Austin Dillon behind him, who is a Chevy teammate of Chase Elliott, so he might be more willing to help Chase Elliott than he will Martin Truex Jr. But at the moment, Martin Truex Jr. is in a fantastic position, and now he's just got to hope there's no caution. But we have lots of racing towards the back of the field, lots of racing towards the front. Still a lot of time for anything to happen.
I think Martin Truex Jr. will be perfectly okay with a caution coming out, maybe on like lap 157 or so, 158, because then he'll be pretty safe there, as they would not be able to get the race restarted. But you're seeing a lot of single file action right now. The tires, of course, wearing out at this point, so it's going to be very hard to continue pack racing. So Martin Truex Jr. in a very, very strong position right now to get his first win of 2021 here in our NR2003 season. Austin Dillon there in second place, and of course that win for Truex would punch his ticket into the final 8 spots here for the playoffs. And Jay, of course, just add on to the pressure when a guy that came in below the cut line is able to win his way in early, and that adds on to the pressure for just about everybody, including Kyle Larson, who's now at this point got to accept the fact that he's not going to be able to rebound from his earlier mishap.
And I'm sure if you're Kyle Larson or Denny Hamlin or any one of those guys up towards the top of this list, you wanted to have this race won tonight, so that way you don't even have to worry about points. Even though you're in a good position, you just don't want to have to worry about points for the rest of the 2 races we have in this round. We still have Talladega next week, which anything can go wrong for any one driver at any single moment. And then we also have the unknowns of the Roval, which could either be a chaotic race, it could be a normal race, or it could be nothing happens in that race at all. So it's just everybody here. I think this race is the one big known where we know we'll come into a pack race where we know what to expect. And I think a lot of these drivers like Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, I mean, I know any one of these drivers wants to win and puts their ticket in, but I think especially Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson, they didn't want to have to worry about points, but luckily for them, they still have those points to bounce back on. So even if Hamlin doesn't wind up at victory lane tonight, he's going to be in a good position still points-wise. He's going to most likely be leading the points, playoff points going out of this race. But again, just still not comfortable going into Talladega next week.
Coming up to the final 5 laps here in Las Vegas, you see Keselowski, the 78 is right down there on the apron there. BJ McLeod doesn't turn in anything, thank goodness. They all do keep it clean down the back straightaway into turns 3, as you're seeing William Byron putting on some pressure to the inside of Denny Hamlin, your stage 2 winner. I mean, look at Hendrick Motorsports in general right now, running really good. Alex Bowman again having a strong run this week. That's 3 weeks in a row he's putting together a pretty strong effort there in that number 48 Ally Financial Chevrolet, and he's even going to attack to the inside of his teammate of William Byron, kind of hurt him on the momentum. But Byron's, I mean, got speed here in the end of this race, Jay, but I don't think he's going to have enough to be able to actually make a run for the win, because it's just so hard to pass.
Yeah, he won't have the time to get to Martin Truex Jr., but he might be able to get around Chase Elliott and maybe make a run at Austin Dillon as well. But I think that since he's not going at Chase Elliott right now, I don't even think he'll have enough time to do that. But William Byron certainly did a nice job tonight. He came in below the cut line. He's now, excuse me, he's now above the cut line. I got it correct this time, Gary. And he's just had a good race overall. And at the moment, looking at passing Denny Hamlin, who's been one of the fastest cars all night long.
At this point, if a caution comes out, it will be race over from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're seeing a lot of action right here towards the very tail end of this lead pack, so don't count out a potential incident yet back here. They are keeping it clean though, as Hamlin actually was able to stay clear of William Byron, but now Hamlin, with the final 3 laps underway, is trying to make a move to the inside of that 9 of Chase Elliott. Doesn't seem like he's going to have anything. And Jay, at this point, it doesn't look like that 3 of Austin Dillon has anything for Martin Truex Jr., and it looks like a sealed deal at this point for that 19 team.
Yeah, he's done a great job all night long. Been one of the faster cars here. Him and Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott have all looked good tonight. And Martin Truex Jr. looks like he might be able to finally break through into victory lane. And it looks like he's been able to, or he's been in the position to do that for the last 8 or 9 weeks, if not longer than that. He's just had such a great run lately, and he's finally going to punch himself into victory lane and get his ticket punched to the next round. And he's going to be a guy who is below the cut line towards the bottom of all of these drivers here, and he's going to be able to get himself locked in after this first race, and then he won't even have to worry about Talladega or the Roval, 2 tracks that we mentioned for him specifically that were big question marks. Well, Truex Jr. is going to get it done at Las Vegas.
Coming to the white flag here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Martin Truex Jr. leads the way here on this final lap here for the first race of the round of 12. Hamlin side by side in the background there with Chase Elliott, Byron on the top, all the Hendrick cars up here on the outside trying to maybe push that 9 car forward down the back straightaway for the final time we go, as we are seeing Truex hold off that number 3 of Austin Dillon. Byron tries to make a move in 3 and 4 here on that 9 car of Chase Elliott for maybe one extra point coming to the line out of turns 4, though. For the first time this year in 2021, Martin Truex Jr. wins in Las Vegas. Byron gets Elliott at the line there for 3rd place as the rest of the field comes through to cross the line in a surprisingly intense but relatively clean race from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Playoff implications, of course, had a big effect tonight as Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola, the 2 drivers that take the biggest hits for sure, as Martin Truex Jr., incredible job. He's worked so hard to get into the playoffs. He didn't do it until about 2 races to go, and now here he is punching his ticket into the round of 8 as that team continues to build momentum.
I don't want to take anything away from Martin Truex Jr., but I just want to take for a moment and look at that car who's in 10th place. That's JJ Yaley.
He
I
pitted.
noticed he had he pitted. Okay, that would be why then. I was questioning why the heck the 53 was able to run his way into the top 10. So that shows the tires were an advantage and these drivers should have pitted. But a great race from Martin Truex Jr. He did everything right that he needed to do tonight. And now he's locked in. He doesn't have to worry about Talladega, which I'm sure the rest of these drivers are going to have sleepless nights for the rest of this week, and especially Saturday night leading up to Talladega. And it's just going to be. I think that we have the potential for pure chaos next week. We know that it's a play track. These drivers are going to be super aggressive. They're not going to want to give anything up. We've seen how the crashes can be at these play tracks and just NR in general. And next week, we've been saying I think this is where we see the chaos start. I think this is where we see the chaos start. Talladega is Talladega. Next week, we haven't seen it yet, really. We've seen it a little bit, but I think the next week at Talladega is where it'll truly begin. And this round overall in general, I think is going to be probably the best one of the 4 rounds that we have.
We saw a lot of chaos earlier this year at Talladega where we saw Ross Chastain pick up the victory, so no reason why we couldn't have maybe a sleeper playoff driver like Cole Custer or something pick up the victory at Talladega and shake up this grid even more. Of course, some notables. We mentioned Kyle Larson, 33rd place. Eric Almirola, 32nd place. So 2 drivers that have been top 5, as well as Joey Logano, actually. Sorry, he retired. I forgot about him. 3 drivers that have been top 5 drivers all year long. First race of the playoffs in the round of 12. They find themselves 30th below in the finishing order. So, of course, the playoff grid will be up on your screen at the end of this video. I'm sure there's going to be big hits to them. But overall, looking forward to the next 2 races at Talladega as well as the Charlotte Roval. As always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. We'd like to thank you all for taking the time of your day to watch this episode. And we will see you guys next week from Talladega Super Speedway. Have a great day, everybody.